won't be long. You know, as Keith alluded to, this reunion began as birthday celebration of our grandmother, my great-grandmother, Sarah Sally Dyer. And I was fortunate to, as a young boy, enjoy those days at the old house place. Those of you that, most everyone in here is familiar with where she lived, but if you're not, it's up here on Down Creek School Road. The house has been restored. And we used to share this occasion, this birthday celebration in the hollow, we in the mountains call it a hollow, behind the house where the old spring was. There was a big, huge row of tables back there, and the boys, as Keith alluded to, at my age, and several that were older, but Jimmy Hunter and Larry and Jerry Dyer, and Eddie Rich, and I could just name on and on and on. We rambled in the woods and ended up all the chiggers that day, and just had all kinds of fun. But the one thing that really impressed a 9 or 10-year-old boy like me at those occasions was our great-grandmother. I was, at that time, I don't know how many great-grandchildren she had eventually, but I was along about 97 great-grandchildren. Think of that. I don't know what the total was, but it was a bunch of kids. And we were almost all there for those occasions. But what impressed me so much, and I want to share this story with you, it being the 150th anniversary of the Civil War, is that I knew someone who had experienced the Civil War and got to share and hear her stories. The picture you see of her in this, or not this, but in the Chronicle, is just how I remember her. She would always be seated in the corner of the old house in the room by the side of the fireplace, and even in the summertime, there was a fire going in that fireplace. If you recall, if you're over 60 years old, all of you remember this. If you're younger, you just missed something wonderful. But she would be sitting there, and she, of course, this was prior to the time of hearing aids, and she had a big old horn that she'd stick in her ear, and the boys would be sitting around on the floor, and we'd ask her questions, and she'd say, "Huh?" and you'd have to repeat the question, you know. But you say, "Grandma, tell us about the Civil War," and she would relate stories about when she was a little girl and the war was going on. And here in the mountains, it was a particularly hard time. It was all probably everywhere, but particularly here, it was hard. What happened a lot in this area, and she would relate some of these stories, is that local militias and deserters were rambling this country, and they were confiscating your goods. They would take your food, your horses, anything that you had of any value, and of course it would be sent off to the war or squandered, whatever. But they had to hide she would tell us about hiding their meat in the walls of the house. They'd take the boards off of the house and put their cured meat in there and put the boards back on so they could hide their cured meat. They'd hide eggs and ashes in the fireplace. They would hide their horses in the mountains and only work them at night and bring the horses out at night to work their field because they couldn't keep their horses. That people were stealing. But the one story that I really wanted to share with you is that, Grandma, can you remember anything really particular about the Civil War? Where she told us again about the deserters rambling through the country. She said, when I was a little girl, one day they brought us out into the yard and pointed to the south, and all we could see was this great pall of smoke to the south. And she said, I said, Grandma, what was it? What the kid said, what was it? She said it was Atlanta burning. She actually was a witness to the smoke of Atlanta burning. I just wanted to share that with you. These reunions bring back so many memories. And we had a wonderful great-grandmother, grandmother, and some of y'all great-great-great-grandmother. And this family has such a rich heritage. And those stories sometimes, and there's lots of them, don't get related or relayed down to other generations. I just want to share that with you today.